Hello again, everybody. I'm Beth Krause, certified functional health and nutrition practitioner, bloodwork specialist, herbalist, author, and international speaker. And today we are going to be diving into your spice rack. And we're not just going to be talking about the flavor of these three spices that we're highlighting today, but we're going to be talking about the energetics of them. Because here's the truth, you guys. We don't just throw herbs together like a recipe swap. We are wanting to work with them the way God designed their energetics. And what I mean by energetics is that herbs were designed like with these constituents of warming or cooling, drying or moistening, and that's how they bring our body back to balance. So we're going to look at how that can work with and for our body. And I'm going to show you 3 herbs that you may likely already be using. And if you're not, you might want to start. So the 3 we're going to highlight today are turmeric, ginger, and fennel, and how they work with your body systems and which other kitchen herbs can come alongside them to help keep the calm and balance. So get ready, because I am also going to share 3 recipes with you. So you might want a pen and paper or recipe cards, or get your typing fingers ready so that you can put these recipes to practice sooner than later. So we're going to start just in a little bit here. I'm going to grab my first key ingredient here for you. All right, let me move a couple of things. Here we go. Okay, our first star is going to be turmeric. Now, turmeric, this is the powdered turmeric, and I also have the dried root turmeric. So here you go, that's what these look like. Turmeric is considered warming and slightly drying. It stimulates your circulation, it supports the liver, and it can dry up that damp feeling in somebody who is really moist. It also helps with achy, stiff joints. It helps with water retention and swelling, and it also helps come along and support the liver and a sluggish, kind of that sluggish bile duct type gallbladder business that you might have going on. But here's the caveat with turmeric. There's a couple caveats with turmeric. It does not work for everyone all the time. It takes time. It stains everything. So if you're working with it, make sure that you either have clothes on that you don't mind getting some stain on, or use gloves, or just be very careful when you are using it. If someone is already dry, having dry skin, brittle hair, or is constipated, too much turmeric can tip you out of balance. So you want to make sure, if you do have achy joints, and turmeric does help with that part of your journey, you want to make sure that you're going to balance turmeric with other herbs that might boost it in a better way. So some of those, I forgot to grab one, but one of those components is cinnamon. Here I've got cinnamon in probably a different form if you're not used to working with herbs. These are what is called cinnamon chips. And no, they're not chips like chocolate chips like we know that we bake with. These are from the cinnamon bark, and they're just down into smaller pieces. These are really nice to work with in like tea. And so this is a Ceylon cinnamon, really nutritive and really helps. It's warming, it's moistening, and it's to help soften turmeric's dryness. So this is a good companion to turmeric. The other one is clove. Clove is also a nice warming, but it's also stimulating for circulation when there's stagnation in like your cells and your tissues. And then also with turmeric, pepper. And I always like to throw in a couple of peppercorns when I am working with turmeric. So this might look different than your peppercorns. This is a rainbow peppercorn mix. And it's just really nice to pull out that that component and constituent in turmeric and helps with absorption. So pepper is a friend of turmeric. So the recipe I'm going to share with you is a golden spice tea. So you would take this is to make 1 cup of this golden spice tea. You would take a half a teaspoon of turmeric. You would take a 1/4 teaspoon of the cinnamon. You would take just a pinch of like ground clove or 1 clove, whole clove, 1 to 2 whole cloves. And then I just throw in 1 to 2, maybe 3 of the peppercorns or a pinch of fresh cracked pepper, and then steep in 1 cup of warm milk, and then add just a drizzle of raw honey with it, or even real syrup, real maple syrup, not pancake syrup that you buy off the store shelf, right? You want to make sure it's real maple syrup. So that golden spice tea is soothing. It helps release some of that stagnation. It helps with some of that pain, and it's really great evening tea, just really relaxing and soothing. All right. The next star of our chat today is ginger. Now, let me move some things out of the way here. All right. So ginger, this is the dried ginger. And if you're in the herbal world already, you're probably used to seeing it in dried bits like this. This is great for mixing your teas. This is the ginger root already dried. And if you're used to cooking with it, this is the way you're probably used to seeing it, as a ginger root. Now, when you're cooking with it, you're used to scraping off the outside peel. And if you're buying organic or you're growing it, that is unnecessary. You can just wash it really well and just slice it and dice it. The only reason you peel off this external piece in cooking is because it's very fibrous and hard to digest. But in teas, you don't need to be taking off this outer peel. It will save you a lot of time, and it's just not necessary. So that'll help out. And it's really great to use ginger fresh when you're able to, but when using a tea blend that you're going to be making in bulk, obviously you can't use the fresh. You will need to use dried. So ginger is hot and drying. It is a true mover for your digestion. And it, like I said, it really speeds up that sluggish digestion. And it warms a cold constitution. So if you're typically a cold person, this will help with those cold hands and feet. And it also helps break up mucus. So ginger is one that I really appreciate, but now not everybody appreciates ginger. So if you don't appreciate ginger, you might appreciate something in the mint family better. So you really have to sit with the herbs to see how they work better for you. It shines when you see nausea, bloating, and the sluggish bowels, when you're feeling really stopped up or really bloated. If you're cold, you're chilly, you've got that slow circulation, or if you've got congested sinuses or thick mucus, ginger is really a friend here. To most people, again, not all. So keep that in mind. Balance matters. So too much ginger for someone who's already hot, who's feeling flushed, who has the redder face and has burning indigestion or has hot flashes, ginger can be overwhelming. So then you need to either pair it with something to balance ginger out, especially if you like the taste of ginger. Sometimes your taste buds and your brain outweigh what the action of ginger is, right? Or sometimes you're just really off put by ginger altogether, so then just don't use it. But if you really do appreciate the taste and the action, let's work with ginger. And what can we use with ginger that might help complement it? So something in the mint family is going to help bring cooling and calming to offset ginger's heat. Maybe you want to try pairing it with mint, like peppermint. If you're really hot, peppermint is very cooling, but also has a little bit of heat as well, but extremely cooling. I appreciate peppermint very much. You could use lemon balm, spearmint, or just mint, catmint, any of those mints. You can also use chamomile. Chamomile helps with gut tension, so try adding chamomile. All right, so the recipe that I'm going to share with you is the ginger mint tea for digestion. So you could take, this is for a fresh cup of tea for 1 cup, take 2 to 3 slices off of fresh ginger, just slices off the end here. You can take 1 teaspoon of dried mint leaves of your choice, of the dried. Now remember, if you're using fresh, it would be 1 tablespoon. Dried is 1 teaspoon, fresh is 1 tablespoon. And then you're just going to steep that in hot water. You can add a little bit of honey or real maple syrup to it, and then just a little splash of fresh lemon juice, and balance that all out to your tasting. This balances ginger's fire with the mint's coolness, and it really is a refreshing tea. So give that a try. And any of these recipes you guys try, leave it in the comments and let me know how you like them. All right. Our next star is going to be fennel. Now, fennel I do not grow, so I do have to source it. And this is how I source it. I do get it from Mountain Rose Herbs. And so this is how it comes. This is the fennel seeds. And fennel is a natural relaxer. It calms, like when your gut is going to spasm, or it eases bloatings or bloat and soothes irritation in the intestines. A lot of times you'll see either fennel or even licorice roots, seeds in Indian restaurants. Like they might have a bowl of them at the door that you can chew on after a meal, because they are soothing, and it does help with, like, if you're feeling like a little bit of indigestion. It helps and is wonderful for gas or cramping. If you have irritable bowel syndrome, or you get that dumping sensation after you eat, first of all, if any of those things are happening, please consider onboarding with a functional health provider to see why you're even doing that, to get to that root cause. But for those inconvenient times, fennel seed is a friend there. When you have that overheated digestion or acid reflux, or that burning in your belly, or even for women, during that time of season, when you're having hormonal cramps, fennel can be a friend for you too. And you can either make a tea out of it, or even just chewing on the seeds. You can just chew on the seeds. Now, friends with fennel, we can go back to ones that we've already mentioned. We can go back to our friend ginger, that is warming. It can add fire to digestion when it's sluggish. And we can also add our cinnamon back in, because it's warming and slightly drying, and it balances that excess moisture that we have, especially if we're having like dumping syndrome after we have a meal, or if our bowels are really upset. So cinnamon is another good friend to add with fennel. So with that, the recipe I'm going to give you is a Fennel-Cinnamon tea. You're going to take 1 teaspoon of crushed fennel seeds and a 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon. And you're going to steep that in 1 cup of hot water and sip that after meals. Now, you could make a bigger recipe of that in like a quart jar, especially if this is an ongoing issue for you. And what you would do is you would, so we know that makes 1 cup. If you want to make a quart jar of that concoction, that would be 4 cups. And so you do 4 times that amount. So 4 teaspoons of crushed fennel seeds and 1 teaspoon of the cinnamon. Pour 4 cups of the hot water over the top. Cap it off. When it cools down enough to put it in the refrigerator, you can put that in the refrigerator and let that steep overnight, and you get a bolder decoction of this. And then you can take it out in the morning. You can sip on it chilled, or you could go ahead and warm it back up and sip on it throughout the day, especially if you're pressed for time to make the tea throughout the day. And drink this after every meal. So those are the teas, the recipes, and those are our stars of the pantry. And like I said, you probably have these spices in your pantry already. You might be adding them to some of your sauces and your stews and your meals already, especially if you make curry or you're adding it to your stir fries or things like that. If you're not, I encourage you to start. Cooking with spices makes food so much more vibrant, and it wakes your palate up For people that don't say that they don't like vegetables, it's likely because you're not using spices. That is why so many other cultures that are spice heavy are also vegetable rich, because they know how to use their spices. So I encourage you to step out of your comfort zone. Here in the Midwest, where I'm from, salt and pepper was our biggest spice. So spices don't have to be hot, they can be flavorful. So use them to balance and to start being nutritive to your system. There you have it. Turmeric, very unassuming and yet very helpful to your system. Ginger and fennel, they're not just for flavor, you guys. They are powerful tools that bring balance to your body. But remember that herbs work because of their energetics. They warm or cool, they dry or they moisten, and they stimulate or they relax. And that's why you can't just play mix and match. You need to kind of understand your body's imbalances first. Why you're inflamed, bloated, or tired. And that's the beauty of functional health, of what I do. We look at your symptoms, your lifestyle, and even your blood work markers to understand what your body is asking for. Herbs then become part of a whole system of healing that God's designed for your restoration. And then you understand how to use them even more and even more functionally. So, if this teaching really resonated with you today, make sure you subscribe, like, and share this with a friend, and grab the recipes, go back, listen to them, and even start trying them. See what ones sit well with you. And if you're ready to go deeper, I'd love to help you uncover what your blood work and your symptoms are really saying. Herbs bring balance, but true healing comes when we listen to what the root cause truly is. So I look forward to seeing you guys again next week. Until then, see you later. Bye, everybody.